Step one, you say you need to talk. He walks, you say sit down, it's just to talk. He smiles politely back at you. You step politely.
You all are a cause for celebration, and that means all. You know, we don't have any particular stance. We believe that your job, if you work in services, if you're a manager, if you're a key worker, if you're a strategic commission lead, your job is to make sure that anyone asking for help has access to all the pathways. So, with that, I'd just like to again welcome you all, thank you for coming, and I'm going to ask Bishop Mark to come up and say a few words. The Reverend Mark Bryant, the Bishop of Jarrow, he's going to welcome you officially also, and then we'll launch into the presentation straight afterwards. So thank you. Thanks.
Well, good morning. And as I think the only person with a dog collar around, let me just, on behalf, in a sense, of the cathedral, welcome you here. I'll say more tonight about the fact that I think it's deeply, deeply significant and wonderful that so much of what's happening over these couple of days is happening here in this iconic building, which, as many of you will know, has been voted, I think, as number one or number two favourite tourist place in the UK. I have a suspicion that the acoustics are going to be a bit hard work in here. You probably know that this room appeared in the very first of the Harry Potter films, but they, I think, probably had a rather better sound system. So anyhow, it falls to me, it seems, to start off. Where do we start? Well, as Julie Andrews used to sing, you know, let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. And I want to suggest to you at the very beginning that the whole process of transformation starts with the belief that every single human being is profoundly lovable. And every single human being is deeply, deeply loved by the God, by the higher power, whatever words you want to use, which is at the very heart of the universe. That's where we have to start. That we and everybody else are deeply, deeply lovable and deeply, deeply loved. And for many of us, that's quite a hard message to get to hear, because many of us were brought up not absolutely certain that we were indeed loved. Some of us indeed may have been brought up with a sense that we weren't particularly loved and that we were in the way. And even if we were brought up with a degree of love, there was often that sense that you are only loved if you get things right and behave in a certain way, and you're not loved if you mess up. So the place we have to start, which I want to suggest is at the very heart of all the great spiritual traditions, is that we are all deeply, deeply loved and deeply, deeply lovable, in a way that many of us find it really hard to get our heads round. And I think all the evidence is that when people start to discover that they are so loved and lovable, that transformation happens. One of my heroes at the moment is an American Jesuit called Father Greg Boyle, who set up a thing in Los Angeles called Homeboy Industries, which works with people who've been in gangs, people who've been inside, people whose lives are pretty chaotic. And he, in his wonderful book, Tattoos on the Heart, he tells story after story about individuals who suddenly become alive when they discover that they are loved and they are lovable and they have meaning. And he tells a profoundly moving story. He takes, because he's quite extrovert and he's on YouTube and TED and everything, he's always getting awards from well-meaning people. And whenever he goes off for an award, he takes a couple of the homeboys, as they're called, with him. And he gets them to say something. And he talks about going off to some small town with a couple of homeboys. And they get up and say something, and they get their picture in the press. And next morning in the hotel, everyone's seen their pictures in the press. And on the flight back to LA, the person, whoever gives out all those announcements on the plane, talks about having the celebrity. And Father Greg tells in his story so these two kids are on the plane going back, and one of them falls asleep. And he notices that the other one is starting to cry. And he just says to him, is it okay? What's going on? And he says, all this stuff starts to make me feel that I am somebody. There is something about the discovery that we are lovable and loved. And he went off to his first meeting, and he met people who said to him, we will love you until you have learned to love yourself. Something there about the transformative power of being loved and knowing that we're valued. Now, the danger with all that is that sounds all just a bit sort of nice and pink and fluffy and not really sort of too much to do with the reality which many of us know in the work that we do day by day. But the spiritual traditions which talk about us being loved then go on to say that a key component of spiritual tradition is complete and utter honesty. That's what the Christian tradition means when it talks about conversion, which is about turning around and starting to see life in a new and a more honest way. And of course, that is there in the 12-step tradition, making a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, admitting to God and to ourselves and to other human beings the exact nature of our wrongs. But, and this is absolutely key, because this is certainly where the Christian church has got it so wrong time and time again. The purpose of honesty is to begin to change. The purpose of honesty is not so that other people can tell us off and make us feel small and fill us with shame. That is not the point of honesty. But I think actually that deep down underneath, it is about that sense that we long, many of us, for community. We deeply long not to have to walk through life alone.